Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the beginning of Women's History Month. We have a special guest, Wildflower. She is in the building. Our title of our show is Women Love Thyself. Our other host, Evan Flo, she's going to start off with a poem by Maya Angelou. I'm passing the mic to you, Evan Flo.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And the title of this poem is Phenomenal Woman. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellas stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's in the fire in my eyes, and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist, and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they still can't see. I say it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care, because I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me.
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that.
No
So,
problem.
you want to introduce Wildflower?
Yes, thank you so much. So we're introducing Wildflower to the stage. Beautiful soul, come on and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you have going on in the poetry world, and welcome to the mic.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Basically, I started writing poetry about 6 years ago to write myself out of a dark place. And that is pretty much the story of many poets. We are writing to write ourselves out of the darkness. Um, and how I was introduced to it was I had a friend at the time, and I don't remember anymore what prompted me to do this, but I read her an excerpt from my journal. And she said, "Oh my God, that's poetry. You need to spit, you know." And she invited me to the first place I've ever been to, the Poetry Lounge. I think everybody has to go through the Poetry Lounge at least once or twice. Everybody goes through there. Uh, and I fell in love with it. But even prior to that, in high school, I was on a speech and debate team. And that was my very first foray into writing. But mainly, I performed vignettes and wrote speeches at that time. So it's kind of like I'm circling back right now, but as an adult, and I poetry means so much to me. This community means so much to me, and There is no replacement for it. I've done many things. I make jewelry. I've kind of gone on hiatus with that, but um, I'm a creative. Anything that I can do with my hands, I do it. So, but poetry, there is absolutely no replacement for it for me. So that's pretty much it. I do endeavor to write a book. I believe I have enough notebooks of mine to create a book of poetry. So I'm working on that this year.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Good luck with your book. And so, can you bless the mic for us, please?
Oh my goodness. Well, as far as so the theme tonight is empowerment. So I'll start with one piece that I wrote very early on, and it's called "What You Deserve." What do you deserve? Well, you deserve more than a half of something or the crumbs of a thing falling from another person's mouth. I dare say you deserve all or nothing. You deserve love, love whole, love complete, not in part or in piece. Love should leave you with peace. No, it shouldn't leave your heart in pieces or require the giving of all the pieces of you until there is nothing left of you. He, she should not leave you asking why. It's not wise to contort and morph your soul into something completely unrecognizable just to be with someone and not alone. What do you deserve? You deserve to walk into a space with all the nerve to fill it, to know your worth and to be noticed, and the audacity to believe that you are worthy to receive love without condition. You are worthy. Your voice is worthy of being listened to and heard. You deserve to be loved for the things that last, like your heart, your eyes, your mind, and not just your ass. You deserve to be affirmed, to hear that your smile is pretty and that your soul is pretty too. You deserve to make your lover laugh and to be told that you are witty. You deserve to be held. You deserve to hold and be held without the pressure for more sometimes. That's why you deserve to know that you are worth the wait. You are worth the wait, even if dinner was $60 a plate, even if it has been 60 days. And even if you choose not to wait, then hey, you deserve to be kissed properly and not dismissed as someone's property. You deserve to have your presence missed terribly. You deserve romance and not to have foreplay skip past due to careless decay or thoughtlessness. You deserve tenderness. You deserve memories, gray hair, hands held, walking in tandem, not random days late texts. You are more than an afterthought of another too quick, too eager for their own release. You deserve softness and ease. You deserve love that fills you to overflowing, flooding out thoughts of what needs to be done. Love that has you constantly contemplating new ways to bring contentment and happiness to each other so that two souls become as one. But until then, realize that you do not have to wait for someone to come along to love you, for you have yourself. Love yourself until someone crosses your path who will. You, you love you still. That's that piece.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank
Yes.
Thank
you so much
you.
for that piece.
Wow.
Love it, love it, love it.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
You're very welcome. So we're going to pass the mic to you, Miss Dre. You have a poem for us?
Already? I
Yes.
have one prepared. I do.
Okay.
So this one's called Virtue. When the Most High commanded Adam to remove a vital part of his body, his rib,
Mm,
which enclosed his heart, He sculpted the perfect outline of a woman, created to be his equal. Magic was created, the perfect ingredients was added to capture exactly what he needed. There is something about a virtuous woman,
Mm.
graceful, hardworking, productive, reasonable, wise, understanding, nurturing, sincere, compassionate, classy, kind, valuable, motherly, impressive, praiseworthy, fruitful, asset, not a liability, one who takes care of everyone's health. She's beautiful, acclaim, high praise. And that's my piece.
Mm. That's
Whoa.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful.
So I have some poetry tonight.
You do?
Nah,
What?
I'm just messing around, but I do have a couple questions I'd like to ask you guys, because it is Women's Month, and the show is Women Empowerment. Wildflower, let me ask you first. What does women empowerment mean to you?
Hmm. Well, empowerment always starts from within.
Mm-hmm.
I think that growing up, a lot of us women learn that empowerment is something that we have had to march for and we've had to fight for, and we have, but it all starts on the inside. So women's empowerment for me, I'll apply this personally. Um, there were many, many years that I was codependent. Um, and I did not know what it was to stand on my own 2 feet. I was very disempowered. Um, I don't even, I used to think my own thoughts. I hope not to be very long winded with this
Oh,
response.
not good.
It was kind of a loaded question for me, but it took many years. One day I just woke up. I woke up and I was sick of my own shit, literally. And in that moment, I decided that it was time for me to do some work, some self reflection, and get to the bottom of why I made some of the decisions that I did in life. And um, so, empowerment started with me, and it started with taking my power back, not blaming others for the direction my life was headed in, and recognizing the fact that I have the power to change things for myself. I have my own voice. I can speak up for myself in the things that I need and want and desire, and nobody has control over that but me. So I'll keep it short and concise. I will say that that's what it means. Um, and as women, we just need to recognize our innate power, just like everybody has their own power source. So do we. No one can disempower us.
Okay, great, great. Drea. I'm gonna get to you last. I'm gonna ask Ebony. Um, how is it to have women empowerment and being a black woman and dealing with the politics of the workplace?
Mm. Well, that's a very good answer. I've personally had to deal with that working in luxury suites department at Levy restaurants, and I was the only African American manager, and everyone else was, a different race, and it was difficult. It was difficult because I am who I am, right? And I alone am enough, right? And I would show up as my best self, no one else. I wasn't, trying to step on anyone's feet or do anything out of my duties, but just me being there, being who I was, created a lot of conflict. So I would say that being empowered would help you with that because you know who you are, right? When you walk into that place, you already are, you have looked in the mirror, you have woken up in the morning and said, "Good morning, gorgeous," like Mary says. And you know that you're showing up to do a job, and that is what you're there to do. And you fulfill that need, and you carry on with your day. But it's difficult when you're constantly being pulled in so many different directions,
Mhm.
and you have to say, well, am I too big? Do I need to shrink myself a bit?
Mhm.
Is my voice too loud? Am I too strong? And then you realize, no, I am who I am. And this alone, again, is enough. And if I need to shrink myself, then I need to remove myself from this place because my peace is worth more than my pay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
You better say that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chef, poet, Drea, and for you, when you're dealing with people when it comes to catering, how do you always let people know, like, look, I know what I'm doing. I'm the boss. I'm a woman. Understand who I am, but this is what I do, and your empowerment and your womanhood is never compromised. How do you handle that?
First of all, I always show up as my true self. And before I take any job with anybody, I have a meeting to get to know them. We know each other. I do tastings and I tell them like this is my work. So I'm not cutting corners. And if I was anybody else, any other race, you would pay that price, right? So I know my worth and what I could do. So going into anything, any job, in any profession that I have had over the years, I just know how to communicate well with people and I practice that. And it wasn't always something that I had because believe it or not, I was a shy little girl. I didn't really like talking to people, but I did start taking communication classes. I worked in different fields where I have to stand up for people, like working with children or people in the system, fighting for my kids at school when things wasn't right. And I'm a person that I believe in fairness, right? So if you want me to come in and do a job for you, you want me to give you good food, good quality food, and things like that. I have to pay for my staff. I have to pay for my time, my gas, and everything. So you have to pay me what I'm worth. And I always show up, like I said, as my best self. I know what I'm worth, and I know that the food is going to be excellent. So you're going to get a great meal, you know, and great service. So anything I put out there, I'm going to make sure that they get something good they could go tell someone else about. And yeah, I think
I appreciate you ladies allowing me to be on you guys' show tonight, and to ask you guys a couple of questions. Wildflower, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned the Poetry Lounge. Everybody may not know what that place is. Explain what the Poetry Lounge is and why that's like a rite of passage for up and coming poets.
Actually okay. So everyone may not know about the Poetry Lounge, but it is a poetry fixture in Los Angeles. I don't remember where it's located. I believe they relocated, but they used to be on the grounds of Fairfax High School, in the theater, and it's just um, a place that you can come. It has beatnik vibes. It's not like a lot of poetry lounges of today. You just come and you have poetry, period. You can bring a bottle of water, um, and it's very the environment is so warm and welcoming, um, for every writing level, every walk of life. Um, and, I can't say it enough. They were the ones that ushered me um, into this poetry life. And there are a couple of other places too that, I'll talk about later on if you all want to hear about them, that have been home to me all these years. But yeah, the Poetry Lounge, definitely, it's um, a lot of people come through there at every skill level. There are a lot of slam poets that come through there. So yeah, the Poetry Lounge. You can follow them on Instagram at DA Poetry Lounge. Like I said, it's been quite a while since I've been there, and I don't remember where they have relocated to. I think they even have two locations now.
They're
But
still
yeah,
at the same place. I've
oh,
been
they are.
this
Okay.
year. Yeah, it's a pretty dope spot, but it's not doper than CLI.
No.
So,
Well, listen, I was born and raised in Leimert Park, and Leimert Park is my home. So I mean I have not joined CLI, but I'm familiar with the Leimert Park poets, and of course, you all know I love to come through the world stage. But I grew up in Leimert Park. That is my neighborhood, so I'm going to always represent them as well. So.
So let me
yeah,
let
you
me ask.
have to come check out CLI. It's a good program. Me and Ebony have our books coming out this
Mhm,
year, so it
mhm.
assists you with publishing your book and everything. And it's just really great.
I've
Hey,
heard a lot about
Trey.
CLI.
Hmm.
Let me ask you, Wildflower, because I got a bunch of questions I can ask all
Oh,
three of you.
wow.
Let me ask you, Ebb and Flow. She started off the night with a beautiful poem by Maya Angelou. Who are your top three poets?
Oh, wow. Well, Maya Angelou for one. Let's see. You put me right on the spot. Right on the spot. Um, Nikki Giovanni would be another. I have to think about my third one. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Because there are so many, and mainly I follow a lot of the newer poets as well, the ones that
You
are
don't
just
have to.
coming
You
onto
don't have to
scene.
be
Yeah.
super famous.
Oh, wow. Can we circle back to that question?
Oh,
Because there are
absolutely. I
too
got
many.
absolutely because I got one for Ebony.
Oh, I thought I was gonna get to answer that question.
Oh no, I got a bunch for you too.
Well,
Eb,
just my favorite poet is Tupac Amaru Shakur. I just need to say that. Maya Angelou and Rupi Kaur. I love them.
Mm.
I love Nikki
Ebony,
Giovanni. But
let
I'm
me
I'm
ask
willing
you:
to take another question as well.
is there a difference between poetry and spoken word? If it is a difference, explain it.
Oh, 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 oh. Okay, you answer it. You answer it.
Go ahead. You want to answer that one?
I actually wrote a piece about it.
Let's hear it.
I
Oh, let's
did. You
hear it.
ready for
Let's hear
that
it.
one?
We ready
Okay.
for it. There you go, Q.
Oof. So, um, I will start by saying this. I know that, I haven't been doing this as long as some people are, but I do recognize the distinct difference between poetry and spoken word. And spoken word is the performance of your poetry,
Hmm.
but poetry are the actual words.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that there has been a bit of contention in this community that I've noticed in the past maybe 3 years since I've been here. And I've not directly dealt with or have experienced the energy of the contention, but I've seen it. And it's a little bothersome when I see it and I see people being targeted. Um, and in fact, you know, for myself, I have noticed every once in a while people will say, "Do you have to read?" Well, I never said I was a spoken word artist. I said I was a poet. So if I choose to memorize something, it is because I have chosen to do it, not because of any external pressures from anyone to do it. I do understand the value of
Say it again.
memorizing.
Say it again. Well, rewind it. You did
Oh,
it.
let's see how far back. I recognize the value in memorizing. Is that how far back you
No,
wanted me to
we
go?
are now all spoken word
Oh,
poets,
thank
right?
you.
And I
No,
agree with that 100%.
yes,
So,
I came on this seen as a writer and a poet, and that's what I consider myself. However, I do recognize the value in memorizing, and when I used to memorize things all the time, but now, I'm a mother of two. I work full time. I have a side hustle. I have a couple side hustles. So, it's a tall order sometimes to ask me to memorize something, and I'm not getting paid to do it. So, you know um it's an at will thing for me. But in any case, this piece is called The Right to Spit. Disclaimer: I have nothing against any parts of this art form or how people choose to express them. What I have against anybody is telling me what I'm not. Like, you don't get to define who I am.
Okay.
So, based on opinion. So, this piece is called The Right to Spit. So, do I have this right? I need to have my words memorized to gain respect on these mics.
Hmm.
Well, I'm just going to keep it real. Some of you are causing these spaces to lose all appeal. You create rules for the new ones that you never had to follow. You burden us with what you've never had to bear. Now, that is a hard pill to swallow. Some of you ninjas are no better than the church. Is it your intent to cause writers to set down their pens because of hurt? You burn the consciousness of young poets with your carelessness. You are not a teacher, but a stumbling block to those who are giving their best. Sometimes this scene feels just like high school. Mean girls, cliques, and athletic teams. To fit in, you must be cool. Some of you haven't grown much. You get off on excluding. And I can see clearly who grew up being bullied. The ditch you dig for others, I pray you fall in yourself and smother. And on this day will lie the egos of those who tried to stop me and us, but together we will continue to write ourselves free until we become tired of doing it, never because of your discouragement. There is a school of thought that I hope someday will be untaught, that unless your words are memorized, you are not a poet to be sought. The unlearned confuse spoken word with poetry. For poetry are the words, and spoken word is the delivery. I wish you would spew this bigotry to Queen Nikki Giovanni. You tell us that these open mics are not our homes unless we can spit pieces straight off the dome. You are riding high off your inflated pride, but one day you will be buried under the weight of those lies, that we are not good enough. But in me, you got the right one, because you cannot intimidate me, because this skin I'm in is much too tough. And I am no respecter of persons. I don't care who you are, because I have found my voice and I have come much too far to be shut up by some and to ever quit what I love. So let me make my point abundantly clear. Never in this space will I be controlled by fear. Swords must be sharpened, and some of you are only the tools to cause the friction needed to hone this future's brightest. So I will stay in this kitchen. I will walk through the lion's den, me, my notebooks, and my pretty pen. I know better than to confuse opinion with the truth. I normally read, but I have memorized this piece, especially for you. And that's that piece.
Yes. Fire.
woo!
Fire.
That's fucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that. That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
Sips tea.
Yes.
Dope.
Somebody needed to hear it tonight. I mean, and that's not even normally my writing style. I'm more of a free
Question.
free writer. But I said, you know what? I'm going to give it to them in the language they understand. You want bars, you got bars. You want me to memorize it, I'm going to memorize it for you. Hear what I have to say. Not all of us are battle rappers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is a little bit of confusion. We need to just allow people to be who they are in this space. Just let people be who they are.
Drea,
Definitely agree with you.
see
Yes, I
if
don't
I
like
don't
competition,
if I
and
don't
I don't
say
like
nothing.
people getting pit against each other.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes you won't even win, right?
Exactly.
You in the wrong crowd. You go here, they like you because they familiar with you. They your friends. You go somewhere else, you might get booed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So yeah, you just got to keep it like you said. I love that piece. I gotta have you gotta type that up and send it to me.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you.
That was dope.
Really
Record it and put it on your Instagram.
Okay.
Listen to Drea. Drea, let me ask you a question, Drea.
Yes.
When it comes to being an artist, how do you feel about censorship?
Oof.
Um, for me, I feel like some things are needed to be said, right? And people are too much in their feelings, you know. And sometimes feelings need to be hurt. I know I don't even want to say this, but it was just one piece. And this guy was just, I feel like it's very disrespectful and it was harm towards animals and things like that. I think that
Mm,
censored, right? Like things like that, abusing animals, abusing people, causing harm to anything.
mhm,
But if we're talking about straight facts, and this is how I feel, and this is my opinion, and this is your artist, right? So you get to speak about what you choose to speak to, what's in your heart, and what you're going through in your life. And I believe it's about healing. So writing is a form of healing for me. It's therapy for a lot of people, you know. I had a conversation today. I was sharing with Ebony at work. It's like we don't stand up for what we believe in. So I'm at work and everybody's afraid to say something because they're afraid to lose a paycheck, meaning you have no faith in yourself. So you
mm,
get out there and get another job, so you need them. One of my coworkers said that, oh, I don't want to say anything because I'm afraid of retaliation. They might fire me. And I said, that's the problem. If we don't stand together to make a change, it's never going to change. It's going to stay exactly the same. What are we fighting for? Right? Even with this women empowerment, I love women, right? Especially black women. I like that, you know, like as sisterhood and things like that. So I feel like we should support each other. I can't even tell certain women, oh, you look beautiful, are you this? They think you want something from them. But that's
mhm,
me. I'm not gonna walk past anybody and not speak. That's rude and disrespectful, right? So we're trying to build a community here of support. So that's why we say when you come to this platform, you sell yourself. Let us know what you have going on in your life. Me and Ebony barely talk about ourselves. We don't get on here trying to tell you, oh, we're this, we that. We know who we are. We're secure in who we are. And I
mhm,
feel like it's a difference when people are weak. They want to be in competition. I feel like that's a weak trait. I'm not
mhm,
in competition with you. But if you got to know me, then we can help you, help you move further. I don't go
mhm,
telling people, or I don't even invite everybody to the show. I believe in energy. When I met
mm,
Wilma Wildflower, I felt like, she was a dope poet. She was up there, she spit her stuff. She was, so, just confident. And I felt what she was saying. And I heard her in the background saying, okay, poet, okay. So just that little, minute support could go a long way. You never
mm.
know what you could say to heal somebody or make their day brighter. So I
That's
just think
right.
that it's beautiful when we come together and we share this space for a common goal.
I asked that question about censorship because like I said, it is Women's Month, and I think sometimes because of the generational gap, a lot of us don't understand what happened to Billie Holiday when she wrote Strange
Yes,
Fruit.
yes.
How her life was destroyed by our government for
Mhm,
speaking truth to power because artists have a, I believe, have a responsibility to be able to speak without censorship. And sometimes you guys, as artists, are going to speak against the norm of what the in crowd says. Your own people may not agree with what you're speaking against. So it's always an interesting thing when you hear artists, and nowadays you're hearing how they're trying to censor a lot of rappers with their
Mhm.
lyrics, you know, and I think that's something that should never be taken away from an artist. So that's why I always ask that question about censorship.
Mm.
Mark said history should not be buried. Very interesting statement. It's right. It's true. So you guys could proceed. I don't have any more questions right now. I'll think of
Oh,
something for you, Ebony.
I want to pass the mic back to Evan Flo. Evan Flo, bless our mic.
Okay. Well, thanks so
Hey,
much
Rihanna.
tonight, Q. Really appreciated it. And this piece, I think, is most important for tonight, women empowerment. And it's called I Alone Am Enough. Perfectly imperfect, but I'm worth it. I climbed curbs when I was just knee high to an ant's ass. I surpassed potholes rolling on Daytonas, and when they homed us in urban communities like pigeons that flew the coop, becoming showbirds, proving to you that I alone am enough. My word was my bond. I stood up to the moon at the break of dawn. Still me you frown upon, but I remain untouched because I alone am enough. Sometimes I curse like a sailor because my daddy was a pirate, you see, and me, a one woman navy cast out to sea on ships that have no sail, like mail that never arrives, waiting in prison cells of hells without bail. Still, I alone am enough. I'm tough like Mike Tyson in his prime. I'm a bad man trying to be somebody's wife. I cook and clean in between like my grandmother Nora Jean in kitchens with food that she could not eat. Still, I alone am enough. I'm rough
Mm.
around every edge, escaped every cliff, clipped my wings, but I kept right on flying, and you still wondering if I'll fall. I stand
Mm.
as tall as giants, yet here you come trying to slay. Baby, I'm trying to tell you that I don't play. But I pray on knees bent in dark closets, and I fast for hours without ceasing, dance in showers of acid rain. You can't get past this here, dame, because I alone am enough. I'm cut from a different cloth, found me way down deep in the middle of the safari and copied me because I alone am enough. From flickering to a divine shine, I paid the cost for this here world to be mine. From last to first, from lost and found to all around. Everybody gonna know my name, child. I bust down every door, hold the key to every lock. I broke out of every box because I alone am enough. Thank you.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
And that's that piece.
And that. Yes.
Flower.
Please.
What would be, in your opinion, the pinnacle of how far poetry can take you?
Is that a question for me?
You can answer it too, Ebony. I said Wildflower, but I want you to answer
Oh,
that
I
too.
thought
Oh,
Yeah, I need you both. All three of you guys can answer it if you
okay.
don't mind.
Well,
there's
who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead and go since the mic is still hot for me. There's no limit to where poetry can take you. It has opened so many doors thus far that I know that it's limitless. I believe that is limitless because when you are a poet, I feel like you're living in your passion. These are our God given talents. And, these are things that we can do without trying. They're not contrived at all, and it's just a matter of putting yourself in the right places, not being afraid to speak up, not being afraid to speak your pieces, not caring if everyone likes them, because every piece is not for everybody, right?
Mhm.
So just being confident in your pieces, in your poetry, in your writing style, in your cadence, standing alone, not having to fit into the aesthetic of clicking up or doing any of those things. Don't be afraid to just do what you need to do, what makes you happy. Write for power, write for peace, write for liberation. And there are no limits where you can go with poetry. We've seen someone won a Grammy, America's Talent, all these different things. So I believe the time is now. The mics are on fire. People are in the need of healing. They want to speak, they want to hear, they want to listen. And so there are no limits to where poetry can take you.
Oh, you was in my head because you was ready for me, Ebony.
Mhm.
I said
You
I was born ready.
you was ready for that one.
Oof.
Gotta stay ready. Wildflowers on you.
I mean, she killed it. What can I possibly add to that? And, but I will answer another one of my favorite poets. Now that I'm thinking of it, is Kendrick Lamar, and that brother won a Pulitzer Prize for his work. And I think that still there are a lot of people that really, really don't recognize the power that's in his pen. Um, as far as how far poetry can take us, I believe Ebb and Flow really, really did a wonderful job of answering that. Um, I know that for me, it has taken me to deeper places of understanding myself and deeper places of healing. And it has helped me to become a more self-assured person because, as Ebb and Flow said, you have to be comfortable within your own style and your own cadence and everything that makes your writing what it is, because we're not for everyone. We're not for everyone. I write with a specific mission in mind. Um, and I recognize that it's a little different, but I love what makes me different, and I love what makes Ebb and Flow different, and what makes Miss Drea the poet the different. We all are meant to be different. So poetry can really help with, self-realization. It's not just about money. Not speaking against money. I like money. We all like money, but that's not all there is. The end goal is not always to win a Pulitzer or to be an Amazon bestseller. Sometimes it's just freaking freedom. So that's it.
So poetry, my poetry journey has took me to many places, right? It brought me here. Poetry led me to meet Ebony, connect to CLI, Wildflower, Q, and then go to other platforms. So myself and Ebony have something coming up soon that's going to be big and great, and just connecting to other, you know, beautiful people. So making sure that you have a purpose and you are at cause over your life. So I always say, if anything happened to me, directly or indirectly, positive or negative, how did I get in this space? What can I do to change it or make it better? How can I bring my poor friends along? So me and Ebony was saying, like, no poet left behind, right? So we make sure that we assist in helping other poets grow. And in exchange, we get something that we need. And it's a healing space, right? You can write out your problems, your stories, your trauma, and just heal from that, and have different pieces that relate to different parts of your life, and you see the growth throughout the pages. So it's just something beautiful that you grow with, like your baby, right? So you
Right.
birth this piece, or you birth the entire book, right? And then you can just see it come to life. and the different steps that you take and the different people that you meet on this poetry journey, which is so beautiful. And I have met some really great, dope is my word, some dope poets, right? So, and I just love the space, and it's challenging. I didn't like to get in front of crowds. I told Ebony, like, they can just read it. I don't got to get up there and do that. And I
No,
was
you
serious. And
don't
she
need
was like,
to.
no, you can do it. You can do it. And so I have to get up there, but just having that support, right? And talking to her and be like, you just got so much better. Like, I had the words, I had the bones. And just like, growing in your poetry and just growing up with it and everything. And then you still have that, you got to get up there and you still be nervous no matter how much you talk or you recite the same poem. That's why I felt exactly what you were saying, because I'm like, I'm not a spoken word poet. I don't like to be like everybody else. I want
Mhm.
to be different. I actually
Mhm.
want to be behind the scenes,
Mm.
different things. I like encouraging people and helping people. I am a service worker. I've been at, like, my whole life, every job that I have, caring for people, cooking for people and things
Mhm.
like that, giving people opportunities to do different things. And I really appreciate the platform that Hiram Sims created for all poets and his wife. And they're so, like, giving and humble, and nurturing. They can have big heads and say, we did this from the ground up. We've been doing this for 10 years. Who are you? We don't need you. Never
Mhm.
have they had that attitude. Just beautiful people. So I just think that having the spaces like Community Literature Initiative, Sims Library of Poetry, the Poetry Lounge, and other places like that have the platform to give us to, do poetry and host spaces for us, like Let's Talk Radio with Q and everything. So I think this is a beautiful space and a beautiful beginning.
Oh, you got me blushing now. But so let me ask you guys a different type of question. And I'm gonna ask you, Ebony first. Tell us, Ebony, a funny, embarrassing moment that you had with poetry.
It was funny, embarrassing to me, but no one knew. And it happened not too long ago when I was at the World Stage Press for my first time. Wildflower was there.
Oh wow.
And so I was sitting on a stool and I was reading my poem, A Feeny, to be in fact. And I had my jacket on and I slid off the stool, but I was so cool and so smooth that it looked like I did it on purpose. But in my head, I was like, O-M to the G. What is going on? Like, in my mind, I hit the floor, but Dre was recording me and I didn't miss a beat, right? So the Most High God was carrying me and had just helped me to keep my flow and
So you
continue
was
to.
praying nobody noticed that you was sliding.
I was praying that I didn't hit the floor. I wasn't worried about nobody but me and the spoken word and hitting the floor at that moment, right? I'm like, this is my first night ever performing on this stage, and I'm literally about to fall on the floor. Like, after everybody, because everybody was like, we really like your jacket. And I was like, was that a curse? Because this damn jacket almost made me like fall on the floor, right? But it was a moment of perseverance for me, right? And resilience, because even in the midst of my imperfection, God still made sure that I was whole and that I presented my best
Mhm.
self. So it was funny to me, but it was also a test of character to say, when it becomes a little bit overwhelming or when it feels like you're about to stop or something is happening, to stop your shine or to stop your flow, just go. And so it was funny, but it was also like a moment to say, okay, Eb, I see you. I'm proud of you, girl. You didn't fall, you didn't hit the floor, and you didn't stumble over your words. So good job.
Wildflower.
Mm. Oh wow. Same question.
Yeah.
Uh, so I had a couple of moments actually. One was when I first I had gotten Invisalign, and I actually need to do it again because girl is lazy, so I got to start over. But so I had Invisalign in my mouth, and I got up to speak, and it was like my tongue wouldn't work or something. So, I had a severe lisp the entire evening as I was speaking. And I just was like, oh my God. And another time I just had, as a rule, uh, before I get up and do any poetry, I don't like to have a drink before I do poetry, or if I do, I like to slowly sip on something. But this particular night, I was really happy, and I had 1.5. I'm such a lightweight, and I got up there and I was kind of messy. I was really messy. And I thought, note to self, don't ever do that again. Those are the only embarrassing moments that I can think of, because literally, no matter what, I feel like you can't be embarrassed and do poetry. Like, it's just, once again, community has been what it's been to me. And there's not been a time that I have been embarrassed by someone. It's literally been me embarrassing myself and feeling that internally, you know.
I
Nobody ever, that I've noticed, nobody just seeks to just destroy you when you're on
She's
stage.
always
So,
critiquing herself.
I agree with you. I
right.
think embarrassment is all in the mind. That's what I teach my children.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
you fall, get back up.
Not
Like,
my story. It wasn't in my mind.
it's not
Oh, oh.
embarrassing, it's from within. But go ahead, Mr. Ed, what you have to say?
So I was doing a feature at the Sims Library of Poetry, right, for alumni class. And my kids was in the audience. My poem, okay, so I do a little erotic poetry, right? But that wasn't erotic. The poem that I did.
Mm.
Everybody say it is, but to me it's not. So when I went to sit down, my daughter and my sister was like,
So it was a
ew.
little freaky then. It was a little steamy.
So that was a little, embarrassing, I guess.
And the
Okay.
kids will get you. They'll tell you.
You, I had a question for you. Where did that question stem from? Like, why did you ask us that question?
Because usually, artists or anybody who does s- performances in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
usually you're your hardest critic, and you'll have a embarrassing moment that nobody else sees, nobody else knows, and you'll be like, for example, when we be talking, sometimes I'll have the volume down. I'll just start talking, and y'all will be like, "We can't hear you," and I'll be like, "Oh, I turned the volume down." So I always ask that question because co- we should be comfortable not being perfect. We strive for perfection, but we're 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 not going to have that perfect performance all the time. You know, we could plan, you could work on it, try hard, be like, yeah, did it. There's something could just go out. Like you guys could be performing, and the lights could go out in the spot. You ain't had no control over it.
That happened to me, remember?
Or you start your poetry and the mic was never on. You know what I mean? We've had that here as well with some people
Mm.
poetry because we
I've
try to
done
keep
I've
our
done it a
mics
couple
They're like,
times
Ebony, your mic not on.
with the mute with
on.
the
So
muted.
so sometimes, like I said, we are our worst critics sometimes and our biggest advocates. So you'll be like, oh, I'm embarrassed. And someone else, and I know how ebb and flow and Drea is. Sometimes you need that person when you're out performing, when you're out doing things to be like, no, you good. Like, what you all
Mm-hmm.
nervous for? And
Yeah.
and even when Wildflower said about being messy, people that heard her recite that day probably didn't think she was messy, but she thought she was messy.
Mhm.
And that sometimes it's a good thing to try to perfect your craft, but it's sometimes you be like get on yourself so much. So it was just a
Mhm.
question of performances and being on that stage.
Yeah, it was a
So,
very interesting question, and
Yeah.
it's so true. Like I strive for excellence because I learned in
Mhm.
piano class that perfection is not possible, right? And so it's easier when you strive for excellence. But
Mhm.
worst critics, and we get in our head and we convince ourselves that we did horrible, right? And the world doesn't even see that projection of ourselves,
Right.
right? So it's really important for us to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. Dre and I discuss it often, and I'm like, we'll both be harping on ourselves, and I'll be like, no one even knew, or she'll say, no one even knew, and I didn't even know until you told me, right? And so it's like, if you didn't have that iron sharpen iron type of relationship with someone, you could beat yourself down so much that you would never want to perform again because you
Hmm.
thought that you did horribly when in fact you were good, right? So yeah, it's really important to be
Like
okay
her workshop poem.
messing up.
And they was like, what, why did you workshop this?
Mm.
So like different things like that. But Ebony, you
Yes,
have
yes.
some questions for this show.
Um, I didn't write any questions down, but what does women empowerment mean to us was one of them, and what why is it important for women to band together? You know,
Mm.
a lot of times we are always at odds with each other, right? For no reason in particular, or for like things that really don't matter at all, right? Because it's
Right.
the heart and what's inside, right? And so what I've realized becoming one with myself is that we have more similarities than we do differences, and most of us are struggling with the same thing. So that was one of my questions, like, why is it important to band with other women who are empowered? Is I know that it's important to choose wisely who you surround yourself with, right? But why is that important? Why do we feel as women that it's important to find a support group and find some people who get us and to give us grace and allow us to be imperfectly ourselves?
So for me, I believe that it's a maturity level, right? And
Hmm.
it don't matter what your age is, some women are still stuck in grade school, not even high school. So it's like the tit for tat thing. And they might see something in you that they don't have, right? Well, you can get that and you can learn from me, or we can learn from each other, right? So I had somebody tell me the other day, um, I was going to, I try to do community engagement and talk to different people, and this person doesn't know me at all. Oh, you going to flirt with him? I said, I don't do that. First of
Mm.
all, I'm a lady, and I don't need to flirt with any man. I don't need any attention, and I don't look for that. And like Ebony always say, I'm whole by myself,
Hmm.
right? You can add to me if I allow you to, but I'm not on that, right?
Hmm.
This is professional. She's like, oh, I didn't mean anything by it. But they come across that way because they assume that all women are the same. And that's the biggest mistake that anybody can make, because I'm not that person. And they assume that I'm not going to check them, but I am. I just look like this, right? I'm not a mean person or evil, but right is right and wrong is wrong. So if you're doing
Hmm.
something that's not right, if you let it simmer and you don't have that conversation, that's when the problem come in. Or if you have that messy person that's always stirring the pot, that's when it becomes a
Hmm.
bigger problem than it needs to be. But as soon as something happened, I'm talking about it. We're going to have a conversation. I'm not confronting you or anything like that. We can sit down and talk and squash it, because we have to coexist together, right? So I think that's the biggest part of the problem, and just a little envy, jealousy, and things like that. The same thing that I have, you can get it too. And I never ever wanted anything that anybody else have.
Let
Like,
me
I'm
ask you.
fine with who I am, what I look like,
Let me ask. Let me ask you three ladies a question. Do you do you think that 2023 and social media and being a woman that know how to handle herself with class, do you think that's important with being classy, being a lady, being a woman, being empowerment, and dealing with social media? Do you think that you have to always maintain that type of dignity?
If you're looking to impress someone, I feel like there's certain things that you should do, and there's certain things that you shouldn't do. But it depends on your discretion. Some people use social media as an outlet to just be let their alter egos run loose, run wild. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Some come on there and talk about their personal issues. It is important to remain classy, but what is classy to you? You know what I mean? It's depending on how you define it, right? There is no certain way for a classy woman to act, even though there are certain norms that you would hold a classy woman to. But again, everyone has more than one side. There's the yin and the yang, and you have to be able to balance those. There's light and darkness. And so it really isn't about what anyone else thinks. It's about what you think, because you can
Mhm.
put something out that just sparked your attention, and someone could take it personally and think that you're going through something, or you feel or whatever, but it could have just been something in that moment. And we are very microwavable, fickle. We live in a very microwavable, fickle world where people are forever changing in an instant, right? And so it's important to be whole all by yourself and know that whether I get a like, 20 likes, a million likes, go viral,
I'm doing this for me,
when I
not
turn
for a like.
this off, the real world shows back up, right?
That's
So
right.
it's important, to always stand firm in who you are and know that you have that release. But as poets, that's why we write, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we're human and you want an opinion. I look at social media as my journal to the world, right? I'm allowing you to come in to step a little bit inside my world to take a glimpse, but to what expense do we do that, right? So
Mhm.
it just depends on the person. It just depends on, people are always going to have an opinion. They're going to always say, you did this, you did, who cares? I don't live my life measured by others' opinions, because my grandmother taught me a long time ago. She said, if you depend on someone to tell you you look nice when they don't, you're not going to think you look good, right? So
Mhm.
it does not matter to me what anyone thinks. I started with the man in the mirror, and that's it. And if I can't answer the question, when I look in the mirror, I consult God, the Most High, and everything else is extra. So, yes, that's how I feel about, but a lady must be classy. You could be a little rough around the edges sometimes, but you know,
Mhm.
we
Yeah,
we we're
I,
different.
I know about that alter ego. I tend to show mine every now and then on social media.
Let's talk. Yes.
So let me ask you guys a question about poetry, about your pen. Has your pen ever had writer's block?
I always like find myself starting pieces, and me and Ebony and our other members of Verses and Vibes, so we talk to each other and we try to get that little, to try to finish it. And I was working on that today. I'm going through my phone. I have like 20 started poems, and I'm like, why didn't I finish this? So I have a lot of writer's block sometimes when I get to a certain point, or it's a topic that I'm struggling to write about and I don't finish it because either it's too sad, or it brings back, not so good memories. So I just put it down
Mhm.
and don't go back to it for a long time. I've been writing this book that I'm trying to finish. It's called Tears on My Pillow for like 10 years, so
Mhm.
just to finish those projects is something important. But it's having that support system, to help you and encourage you to do so is really great, right?
Very much so. I don't write the poetry. The poetry writes me. So,
Okay,
Mhm.
talk your talk.
um, you know, sometimes I come up with a line, and like Dre said, I can never complete it. But poetry comes to me in the shower, in the car,
Mhm.
and the more that I meditate, I'm able to wake up out of my sleep and write poems.
Mhm.
So, I can be in a mid conversation with a client at work, and if a line comes in my mind, I'm gonna grab my phone and type it up real quick so that I don't lose that
Let me
memory.
tell y'all a quick story about Ebony. So yesterday, we in a children's book writing class, right? And she was like, "Oh, friend, I gotta write, my story." And I said, "She gonna write a new story." I knew it. She didn't even tell me. She got to class and she wrote this amazing story
Thank you for
in
Mm.
probably less than an hour.
mm,
Wow.
And the whole class was just like, it touched me. I felt it in breaking down into different sections what they liked and loved about it. And I'm just like, I already knew. Y'all surprised, but I already know, right?
Mm.
So it's just that having that and just the push, right? Like you got to do this. Oh, friend, did you do this? Just checking in with people and making sure that you're supporting them in everything they do. I think that's really important. And then
yes.
from that, I had started this book called "I Got a Story to Tell." So I'm writing different stories. Some of them are true, but it ends like where either somebody is hurt or somebody got killed, or it's going to be continued or something like that. But I think that
Wildflower.
Ebony should share that story she wrote yesterday, and I want to share mine
Oh,
that I
great.
And
finished.
thank you so much for, always speaking positive words and affirmations
Of
to
course.
grateful for. But we have Wildflower here, and we love her poetry, her presence, and her energy. And we would love to hear some more of your poetry, Queen. So if you don't mind, can you bless our mic again?
Sure. And I just want to say, I want to circle back to this one. It was a statement about women banding together. I find that at the root cause of, you know, any separation um, between us are issues with ourselves at the end of the day. So I'm not really quick to um say, oh, they're just jealous. I mean, yes, that could be the case. There, but why? Well, I always look for the root cause of why someone is the way they is. I mean, the way they are. And I'm not saying that, we have to do that all day and do that with everyone, but I just, in my own quiet time, in my understanding, you know, um, there's always a backstory to someone, and there's no way possible um, that we can hold everybody to the same standards. We only have enough um, within ourselves to hold space for ourselves and maybe our family, people that really we really hold dear, and then all we can do is just give people grace at the end of the day, because people are dealing with stuff, you
Very
know and some people have had really messed up relationships with their mothers, so they didn't even have a good example of what it is to embody class and to embody um, togetherness. Some women don't know how to be with other women because all the women that they've experienced were jacked up. So I just try.
I'm on a fence about that. Like I don't 100% disagree or agree, because at the end of the day, we are still human, and no matter what we've been through, we I didn't have a perfect mom. I didn't have perfect women in my life, but I chose to be who I am. So at the end of the day, we have a choice. So we
Well,
continue
yeah.
to make these choices for people when at the end of the day, you know what you're doing a lot of times.
Well, yes, that is very true, and that my statement was not to absolve people
Hmm.
of doing better. I'm just saying, for me, it's not as cut and dry
mm-hmm.
as we'll do
Hmm.
better. Some people, how,
They don't know how, right? They
you
can't.
know? Yeah. So, I mean, and then you have some people like you, Miss Drea, that you made a choice and you said, I'm going to do better, but it has to be in someone, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree. I used to work with young women and things like that. So it's just like somebody taking that time to try to assist and help them. So.
you're right. Some people just choose the dark. I was telling
Hmm.
somebody the other day, some people really are here just to do trash things, like for real, and that's life. But so as far as my poetry goes, I have written, I think I shared it. It doesn't matter. I'm going to share it now. It's called The Right to Dance. It's a true story. It happened to me. And this is just a cautionary tale on Choosing your words wisely because you really don't know how they will affect someone. You may think it's not a big deal, but to them it is. Maybe if your stomach weren't so fat, you'd be able to tuck it in like I told you to. Acrimony for my arabesque. I'd done my best. It was my figure that was no good. I stood there. My teacher's treacherous words took hold of me, penetrating my pubescent flesh like the prongs of a taser. The evil current shot through me, stunning me into silence. I stood there. No longer able to focus, I looked around. My classmates' faces dropped. So did my heart. More silence. Suddenly, I hear the blood rushing into my ears drum to the beat of humiliation. The heat of fear blushing this black girl's cheeks the prickly shade of embarrassment. More silence. And no one said a word. I stood there, feet firmly planted by shame and hurt. My stomach turns. In an attempt to alchemize her poisonous words as best an awkward girl could, and no one's children ever should. Tears formed of the caustic alkali of lies burned my eyes, but I refused to give my audience the pleasure of watching them escape the levees of my lids. My face now flushed bright as a stoplight. I want to stop and fight. But my legs are lead and I lack the nerve. I want to take flight, but she told me that I am too fat to be graceful. Even so, I still have the right to be here. Oh, please allow me to take flight, but I am too near her, student to teacher, shackled to her until class is over. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but her words have broken my soul. And now, to this troll disguised as a dance instructor, to her I must pay the toll. Respect, in order to cross the long bridge from this moment to the seat on the floor. Next to all of the perfectly petite figures who said nothing, just stared at me. At least no one laughed like they usually do, almost as if they knew this time they shouldn't. This was the day she stole my dance, and in doing so, ruining the rhythm of comfortability in my own body. I wouldn't dance again for many years, for Miss Stevenson worked her wicked spell so well that I wouldn't even dance for myself in private. Isn't it funny how others know what the caterpillar will someday grow to be, except for the caterpillar? But this doesn't matter. The caterpillar's only concern is that it dodge all dangers and predators in its path and eat and grow. And with each passing day, gathering enough strength for its journey, growing, metamorphosing, becoming graceful, beautiful butterfly, majestic mariposa, a pretty proper papillon. Come on, queen, get up. Let me see you do it. Wanting to join the crowd, but inner child reluctant, I know that the sway of hips is sacred, unblocking the sacral. So I get up, make my way to the Soul Train line, and I move. I groove, and I slide until I find it, my dance. And my inner child laughs, healing her wounds, finding forgiveness for her wounded teacher too. In time, my dance would learn to rhyme in cadence with my voice, the voice that I would retrieve from the depths years later. The truth and love for self I have found speaks loud, louder than these insecurities, silencing the haters, both external and the ones wanting to live rent free inside my head. Though the critic creeps up from time to time, I give her grace. Hurt can happen in an instant, but healing doesn't happen overnight. More like moment by moment. Moment by moment, I fight for my right to dance. I fight for my freedom to dance. That's that piece.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Broke my heart and fixed my vision type of poem.
Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes,
Got that one out the mud, that's for sure.
Yes, yes. But at the
beautiful.
end, she dances.
Thank
She
you.
So that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Wildflower.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
That-
Yes, we really enjoyed your presence and your poetry, and we're really grateful to have you here tonight to discuss women empowerment with us. It's been a beautiful night, and I would like to read this poem by Maya Angelou, and it's called Still I Rise.
Mm,
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room.
mm,
Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it
mm,
come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history, shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I
mm,
dream and the hope of slave. I rise. I rise. I rise.
mm.
Well, this show is dedicated to Maya Angelou and all of the beautiful women who have paved the way and who continuously help us with women empowerment through their words, through their essence that never dies but lives forever. And
Mm,
also all of us together here at once, spitting our poetry and bringing forth our passions to the world. We are so, so very grateful to be able to do so on this platform every Thursday night at 8 o'clock. And if you could join us all next week at 8 p.m. again, we'll be here, same time, same show. It might be a different flow, but just come through and see. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks so much.
Wildflower, stay on, don't log off.
Good night.